I don't know about you, but I prefer shorter, quick updates over an hour long update, even if the overall content ends up being an hour long, because it just feels better to be able to watch like 10 minutes at a time. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like a week 1B video. So, we already had 1A, which showed you how I set all this stuff up. And now we're 6 days in. So, I set this up on a Wednesday. Today is a Monday. And I want to show you where we are and what I've done so far. So here's where we are. I've spent 12.80. I've had one sale. Now you might look at this and say, "Oh, she's made $2," but I haven't. So I only profit $5.03 per book. So I've basically spent 12.80 and I've earned 503. So I'm in the hole by $7.77. But I have 17 clicks. Again, this is hard to pay attention to. You want it under 100, but it's hard to pay attention to, especially early on, because this number here is assuming this versus this. So it's not the same as an ROI. It's your advertising cost of spend, but that's totally different from an ROI. So you want to keep that in mind. So here's what I'm seeing and what I've done up until now. One of the first things I did, and I did it on day 4, was within the overall ad, I had this top of search bid adjustment at 50%. Originally, it was at 10%. I'm working with a client on some ads. 50% seems to be working really well in terms of getting her up to the top of the search adjustments. So I moved it to 50%. That wasn't doing anything either, which may have been time. I may have like jumped the gun too quickly, but I bumped it up to 75%. And what this means is that Amazon has permission to bump my bid up by 75% if it thinks that that will get me to the front page of search results. So if my bid is $1, I've given Amazon permission to make my bid $1.75 if it will allow a keyword, the results, my book to show up as the result of a keyword search on the first page, which is at the top. So somewhere on page 1 within Amazon. Now, somewhere along the way, that's kind of kicked in because this number 3 days ago was less than 5%, and now it's at 6.5. And for my client, it's around 40. I want more visibility. I want to show up higher because I don't want to judge that a keyword is air quote bad because it's not getting very many impressions or it's not getting very many clicks. Maybe it has an impression, but it's on page 6 of the search results. And maybe that's why it's not getting a click by 75%, by another 25%. I'm giving the opportunity for the listing to show up a little higher in the search results so that I don't declare out of hand that the keyword is bad. Like, let's give it a chance first. Let's put it to the front of the line and see if it can run the race. And then we'll see what we do from there. So I'll play with this over time. This might go down. This might go up. There are all these little variables that we play with and we tweak over time. And this is the part that I think so many people don't talk about because they want to make it look like, oh my gosh, it's instantaneous because that's what everyone's buying, right? Instant fame, instant fortune, all the things, but there's no such thing. So I like to just keep it all I like to give you the behind the scenes and all the little tweaks because it's what I believe most people are going to need to do. So that was the first thing I did. The second thing I did had to do with these keywords. About 2 days ago, I think I made an update to my keyword list. So if you click on your targeting and you can see all of your keywords, I originally had 21 and I added another, I think 29. So now I have a total of 50, which you can see right here. I don't want to have any more than this. I really want to start paring down from this as opposed to continuing to add more. But 21 was a low-ish number, and I knew it needed to be honed. This is actually an interesting experiment to run, or it's an interesting book to run an experiment on because the macro level keyword of book writing is so humongous that we really have to get clear. It's a very specific person who's going to buy this book. And we have to get clear over time about which keywords they're typing in to Amazon when they're doing their search in order to say, oh, yes, this is the book that I'd like. So you can see this is how I'm keeping notes on all this. These are all the keywords I started with. These were the 21. I just added these, and just hang on. One thing I did because my book has been out for a bit, and so I can do this, is I created within Publisher Rocket, you have space for up to 2 ads projects. So one of mine, well, one is a client's and one is this one is mine. So under keyword targets, there are these 5 categories. And what I did was I clicked on all of these. And what I'm looking for is a high relevance score. And the reason I'm looking for a high relevance score is because the higher the relevance, the lower the cost per click. So this had 10 pages of search terms that were related to my 7 Kindle keywords. These are the 7 keywords that you input when you upload your book to Amazon. And I tend to keep those the same for the paperback and the ebook. Some people make them different. I keep them the same. So what I can tell you is that in these 10 pages, everything was at this relevance score. Like nothing was knocking my socks off. So then I looked at search terms linked to similar books and I looked for relevance and I wasn't finding any that were super relevant. So then I went into search terms linked to your category because I, again, told them, I mean, this just gets even worse. And this may be part of the issue, to be honest, is that my book isn't categorizing properly. So hopefully this will fix that because the more people who purchase it, who are the air quote right people, the more Amazon's algorithm knows who to show the book to. Again, in search terms related to book near mine in search, we had pretty low relevance. But where we kind of hit the jackpot was search terms Amazon has liked for your book. So what I did was, as you can see, I went through and I checked the ones like how to write short stories is not relevant. Writing exercises for adults is not relevant. You don't want to grab terms that aren't what your book provides for the reader. But I grabbed all the terms that it did. It puts it over here. I copied the list and I went back into my notes and pasted. So now I know I have all these new search terms to try. So what I did was I put those here. I just copied and pasted right into my notes. And then we go to the fun part. So what you're going to do is, and we're just going to repeat this, it's rinse and repeat. So you take this first one, how to write a book for beginners. And I'll tell you what this LS is here in a minute. You won't have it right now. So you're going to copy that. You're going to go back over to Publisher Rocket. You'll go back to the main screen and you'll click on keyword search and you're going to put in that keyword. Here it is, and you're going to click on it. And what I'm seeing is, okay, great, low competition, yay, but not very many searches. And what I want is medium searches and low competition. That's what I'm looking for. So that's what the LS is. So if something has low searches, I just put an LS there so I know. Now, this one was a little bit different. So writing nonfiction book, you can start a new search, pop that baby in there. Well, now this gets fun. So we have these 4. So I looked at all 4 of these and said, am I already running? Are those already keywords in my ad? If they are, great. If they're not, as you can see, I put an asterisk next to it and I added it, whatever, onto the bottom. So nonfiction writing books. That might be confusing for a minute. You might think, wait a minute, nonfiction writing book, nonfiction writing books. If one is more searched than the other, and this is true of hashtags on Instagram too, you'll want to use the one that has a higher search and a lower competition as opposed to the other. And you just flesh that out over time. So I have both of these in the list now. I also have nonfiction book writing and writing a nonfiction book. So I went through and did that for all of these keywords that popped up as keyword targets to make sure that I had them in. And that's how I got my extra 29 keywords. So I ended up with all these extra keywords. The asterisk next to it means that it's probably a good one. Like I'm expecting it to perform better than maybe some of these other keywords. And we're going to wait and see. So just to accommodate everyone here, again, if you already know this, skip over it. But how would you add all those keywords in? You'd go back to your main ad. So I'm going to go all the way back to the very beginning. So here's where our main campaign, rather. You're going to click on that. Now you're going to get to your ad set. We're going to click on your ad set and we're going to go up and click on targeting. And this is where all your keywords are. So when you want to add keywords, you simply click add keywords, enter list, paste in all of those keywords that you put over in your notes app. You're going to have to obviously delete all these asterisks, but you'll go through and do that. And I like to make them broad in the very beginning, and I'm not going to keep them broad for very long, to be clear. And then you just click add keywords. Now, I already did this, so I don't want to do it again because it will kick them back out to me as duplicates. What you do want to look at, though, is over here in the bid column, you want to look at the dollar amounts that are coming up. For some of mine, I think 2, the bid was like $3.06. And there is no way I'm doing that ever actually, because maybe not never, but Pretty much never. So I reduce those way down to like 60 cents or 50 cents. So I can still try them, but if I have to bid $3 on them to get them to work, I want to know that they're going to work. I do not want to click on it, have someone click on it and then not purchase. One other thing I want to show you really quickly, if we click on the campaign, we're going to see the ad set because I only run one ad set to start. Again, keeping this real simple. So here's the ad set. We're going to open that baby up. And then we've got the ebook and the paperback. So one thing I'm noticing and keeping my eye on is that the paperback is the one that's sold. It's also the one that's gotten the most clicks. It's entirely possible that in the next couple of days, I'm going to turn off the ad to the ebook. The reality is when someone clicks on the ad for the paperback, they can see what other versions are available. And it looks like right now the paperback is the more popular version. So I'd rather think of it like a room and you're throwing darts at all four walls. And then you've got to figure out, okay, if we're going to remove a wall so that we're dividing our darts between three walls instead of four, which wall do we remove? This would be a wall that I would potentially remove. It's a little hard to make that judgment call after only one order. But if we look at both the ratio of clicks to impressions, as well as the click-through rate, which is higher, as well as the advertising cost of spend, which is lower, it feels like the paper book ad is winning out. So that's something else that we can potentially pull out sooner than later and then start to really hone the keywords. Okay, so that's where we're at now. I hope that's helpful.